Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that technical delay earlier. Not too sure what happened, but we get through those, you know? It happens. We just have to learn how to get through them. My name is Matthew Lopez. I am going to be your host today for this wonderful event at the end of Harlem Week. I am a senior, an incoming senior at the City College of New York, and currently the club president of the CCNY Esports Club. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to have you. Let me just introduce not only our partners, but the club and what we do here. The CCNY Esports Club is a fantastic club where students of all majors, of all ages, of all backgrounds can come together and enjoy one common thing: the love of games and the community and the sense of empowerment that it brings. Everybody at our club plays different games. Everybody at our club engages in different ways. We all engage through Discord, though, and we all engage through video games. And that's what makes us come together as a community and as one. It's really something that brings us together. It's really something that allows us to thrive as students and, socially. It's really fantastic stuff that we've got. But this event couldn't be possible without our partners at the Science Arts Engagement of New York. They're the ones that really helped set the framework for this event at Harlem Week. We wish we could have had this in person. Hopefully sometime in the near future we'll be able to get an event in person. But for the time being, we're just going to have to do with the virtual format. But, I guess for the CCNY Esports Club, no format could be better than the virtual format. Kind of a shorter form blurb about what are we doing here, What's the point of this? Well, today, we're going to have a few guests on, members of the esports clubs and good friends of mine, playing some video games, talking through their experience with the esports club and what esports really means to them in the context of their community, their education, and games. The game lineup we have today for you guys, it's going to be Valorant, a really popular game that's out right now, free to play. Overwatch, a giant from 2015 that continues to be a really popular game, and Rainbow Six Siege. And the cast of players that we're going to have are all fantastic. Two of them are streamers. But without further ado, let's get into our very first guy. This is my close friend Eric, a member of the esports club here and a former member of the R6 Collegiate team. Say hi, Eric. How you doing, man? How's it hanging? So, kind of talk us through a little bit. Like, what is Valorant? What's kind of the premise for the people at home who aren't aware? This is one of the bigger games on the entire video game market, certainly for the CCNY Esports Club right now. But what makes Valorant stand out? What makes Valorant unique? competitive scene at CCNY may be big as well. Cough, cough, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. We will see in the coming months whether or not that'll be something that we potentially get into. But talk to me about the team play aspect. I know a lot of the games that we play here at the club, and a lot of the people that me and you mutually know at the club play a lot of team-based games. What really sets this game apart in its team-based element? Oh, no problem. Let me come and fix some of these audio issues. Here we go. Eric, apologies for those audio issues. You mind reintroducing yourself for the
Oh my
stream?
gosh. Okay.
It would not
Hey
be a
everyone.
Twitch. It would not be a Twitch live stream without some kind of technical interruptions. But unfortunately, we live and we learn. Go ahead, Eric. Reintroduce yourself for the stream and for everybody at
uh,
home.
yeah, certainly. Hey guys. I'm Eric, an incoming junior at CCNY, majoring in mechanical engineering, and as Matthew mentioned earlier, I used to play for the Rainbow Six Collegiate team here at CCNY, and I'm playing Valorant for you guys today. So yeah, hopefully you guys heard me that time.
Just kind of touch on some of the more finer points about the game and what sets it apart in terms of its team play and accessibility for everybody at home who might not know. I know that I kind of mentioned that this game
Yeah.
is huge, but you also bring your own insight, playing the game a lot more frequently than I do. So I'm sure we'd be interested in hearing what your take is on this.
Yeah. About the game being accessible, like I said earlier, it was made by the same people who made League of Legends, so obviously it was going to be popular. It's free to play, and in my opinion, I think it's way more accessible, way easier to get into than other competitive shooters like CS:GO and Rainbow Six. The gameplay mechanics are way easier to grasp, in my opinion, and it's really easy to learn maps and get into the competitive aspect of this game.
And it has a fledgling competitive scene in Collegiate, especially something that I know that some people have made interest and mentioned to me. So we will have to see in the coming months whether or not that's something that could potentially come to fruition. But so Eric, talk to me about what kind of skills and what kind of communicative skills, more specifically, do you really get from an experience from a game like this that you might not get really anywhere else?
Well, something that I think is very unique to esports is to be able to communicate with a team on the fly, basically, and being able to communicate vocally, very clearly and concisely. I think it's way easier for people to get into competitive games like Valorant, CS:GO, Rainbow Six, when you're able to clearly and concisely uh, say something to somebody else and they know exactly what you mean. Um, it's difficult to play competitive games like this without having that skill, and so you're sort of forced to learn how to communicate with people effectively and very quickly. Like, it has to be on the fly, immediate, or else it could cost you the game. And if you're playing a game competitively, that's going to be something that you pick up on very quickly, I think.
And I know you have a lot of experience in your time playing Collegiate Rainbow Six Siege. You're not playing
Yes.
it right now, but these kind of skills do end up transferring, from game to
Yes.
game. These are life skills.
Quite easily, yeah.
They are just plain and simply life skills. These are not things that are just limited to the virtual element. These are things that you can bring into every aspect of your life. But so Eric, so talk to me, like this game specifically. What kind of effect does this game have really on like the social scene for you in not only just the club but just in general? I know you stream on Twitch. We will have a plug for your stream when we kind of finish up with this game and you. But like, what kind of impact has this game had on you socially?
I think one of the best things about this game for me was being able to pick this up and play this with pretty much everyone that I played game with at the time. Basically, sorry if I go quiet. Sometimes that happens.
This is a live game,
Uh,
ladies and gentlemen.
yeah.
He's talking while performing. It's truly inspirational. Can we get an inspirational in chat?
Okay. Sorry, what was I saying? Yeah,
we
the
were
social
mentioning,
aspect of
yeah,
this
the
game.
social
Yeah.
aspect of the game.
When this game came out, a long time ago now, I pretty much played it with everybody that I played any game with at the time. Everybody picked this game up when it came out, and we all like had a go at it. Some of us got way more into it than others. I know so many people who play together and are like on completely different levels of play, but they still enjoy the game together. And I think that's one of the coolest things about this game in particular is that no matter what, people of any skill level can play together and not have to worry about like any sort of disparagement in actually playing the game. Like you can just you can pick this game up and play this with anybody you want, pretty much.
Right.
No matter if they played this for the 2 years it's been out or just got into it like a couple days ago, which I think is nice.
Yeah, and the social, potential for not only this game but just video games in general. I mean, it's just such high potential, especially in an environment like college. I can say from my own personal experience that the club itself and video games have really helped me engage with my college in a way that really you would only see out of traditional sports in a way.
And the thing is like, sorry to cut you off, but meeting people in college who play the same game as you is actually a really easy way to make friends. For example, like I'm sure people are tired of hearing about it, but the pandemic has like hit us in a way that like nobody could have expected, right? And it's kind of hard to be social in college nowadays, but the esports club is one of the like best ways that I've had to stay social, even though I haven't seen any of my classmates in over a year now.
Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, a part of that was being able to meet people who played the same game as me. It was really great to sort of meet people who had similar interests, regardless of what it was. Whether it was this game, Siege, which was a blast playing for the Collegiate team, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like gaming just brings people together in a way that nothing else really can, because no matter what, regardless if you're seeing the person in real life or not, you can always ask them to, hey, hop on for a quick game, and most likely they'll be able to, as long as they have the free time.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we have an excess of nowadays. So.
Nowadays, it certainly seems like more of an excess, though we are starting to move back to where it turns into a commodity. But it's not only the social aspect that really brings people together with video games. There is also a truly educational aspect. I mean, some people see these kind of games and wonder, how can I get into that? I know, like Eric, me and you both, being kids growing up, playing these games, I know that you've thought more than once, boy, I'd love to do something involving video games. Can you just, talk to me about like that kind of experience and what that kind of means to you and how video games have impacted you in that way?
So, yeah, growing up, in a time that I grew up, like in a time of the internet and online gaming and YouTube especially, and Twitch, it was like, I feel like only people our age can really understand what it means to be into video games at this point in time, because you don't really need to play video games to be interested in it anymore. Like, you could totally sit down and watch a streamer play all sorts of games, and sorry.
Live games, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
These are very like mentally focused activities that you gotta do. You know, this is
Definitely. Oh my
these are
gosh.
competitive games here, and I've got him talking over it. The fact that he's even able to put together a coherent sentence, I think, is a lot better than I could do in the same situation. And Eric knows he's played with me for a little while, so do what you gotta do. Let's have you finish this round out. We'll come
Yeah,
back to
yeah.
the question afterwards. Go ahead. In a 2v2 post-plan situation.
No charges left. One enemy remaining. Last player standing.
Dang. That was a good
Man.
try, Eric. You gotta hit the aim labs for
Ugh.
that one.
Yeah.
But anyways, so go on. So, video
You're right.
games in your in careers, and you know how that's
Yeah.
changed the trajectory of maybe what you wanted to do, or almost
Right,
changed
right.
the trajectory of what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So like growing up, I really grew up watching esports instead of actual sports. That's just me personally, and I really enjoyed the time I had like watching certain creators play certain games. Like for example, I mean this was just the biggest influence for me was Minecraft growing up. Watching what people would like make and create was it really made me actually want to start doing it myself. Doing it meaning like playing video games, recording it, and making a living off of it, which is something that only recently people have been able to do. So the way that it sort of influenced me, video games in general, growing up was me watching creators. Oh my gosh, me watching creators.
Play their game, do what they need to do.
Yes.
I know what you mean. Yeah, and it's not
They-
only that. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not only that. I mean, this is a whole other aspect to it as well, where just wondering. Everybody gets curious, and just wondering what kind of work goes into a game like this, what it might take to break into this field, whether it be creative
Yeah.
design of video games or creative direction, artwork. I mean, there's just
Streaming.
streaming, everything,
Yeah.
even involved in the game, just physically coding, the animations and making the models. There's just so much potential for growth in the industry, and I know me and you can both agree on this, especially in the esports side of things, but colleges are now starting to wake up to this potential, and the future really does look a lot brighter for esports, for video games, and for its relationship with colleges.
I think the best thing to come out of esports was just the publicity that it garnered for gaming as a hobby. Not only as a hobby, but what ended up being like a career in streaming or in game design, because a lot of people grew up playing video games and then saying, you know what, I want to make that one day. You can really see it with the indie scene, I think. You see a lot of people making really simple games, but then it gets publicity from things like Twitch streaming, YouTube creators. Creative content, I think, is like the biggest thing for gaming in recent years, and I think that it's nice to see that like places like colleges and even high schools are starting to actually pay attention to the fact that it's a hobby that a lot of people care about and want to pursue careers in, whether it be in design, development, streaming, anything like that.
And the tools are all there. The support just needs to be there on the same level, and that, in essence, is a part of what we're trying to do here today. Get the word out, and really let people know that this is something that's real. This is something that's valid, and we here, everybody who's participating, everybody who's watching, it's just a testament to, the scene and its potential. I mean, I know, and I know you know from our experience and even playing in collegiate leagues, Just the kind of support that sometimes some schools get. A
Mhm.
great example I always love to
Yeah.
bring up is when we
Oh
played
man.
U Ottawa. We
Yeah.
played the University of Ottawa in the Rainbow Six Siege Collegiate series. Rainbow Six Siege we will get to at the end of our ticket today. But
Yep.
fantastic game. I mean, it was a fantastic series. We lost unfortunately 2-1, but we made a really great effort on a
Effort.
comeback.
Yeah.
But I just remember one of the funniest things I ever saw was watching their stream of that game and seeing a Tim Hortons sponsorship and hearing from one of their
Wow.
players that they had an entire dedicated like room for the whole place. You know, it's the support that you can get and the results and just the publicity that schools have the potential to tap into. I mean, it is truly one of the biggest markets right now, one of the biggest untapped markets. Um, and I think I'm speaking for both of us when I say that it's going to be really exciting to see how colleges get on board and how colleges really embrace video games.
Hmm.
Spike down
And I
A.
think it's actually a great point that you make about like funding esports and getting a Tim Hortons sponsorship of all things, right? Like
Player standing.
I
One
think
enemy remaining.
there's a benefit that like colleges and other institutions are seeing now to make this sort of a financial asset as well. Kind of how sports have been for colleges for a long time. And I think it would be great to see esports at some point get the kind of treatment that football or basketball does, which would be insane. But I think it would be incredible to see people get scholarships to play Valorant
30
or
seconds
Siege
left.
or something like that.
And that process is already moving as we speak. I mean, we know people
Yeah,
personally who go to colleges that provide these kind of services. I mean, it's
yeah.
just it's inspirational, not to overuse this term I've been saying all week, but it is just I mean, it really is something to see gaming, which was almost a niche thing when I was younger. I mean,
Definitely,
now I'm
yeah.
a little bit older than you are, but and not by much, but not by much, but by enough to where I remember when not too many people were gaming. But I mean, it used to be something that you were just
Hmm.
told was just not worth it. There was nothing to
Yeah.
gain from
Don't
it.
waste your
There was
time.
no. It was a
Yeah.
waste of time.
Yep.
And now gaming has turned into this monolith where people come to connect, they come to build social skills, they come to build life skills. And I
Hmm.
can tell you from being working with you in the collegiate scene and working independently in the tier 3 scene in Rainbow Six Siege. I mean, it builds competitive skills, it builds team
Hmm.
oriented skills, something that you just cannot build when you're you know when you're stuck at
Doing
home all
math
day
problems.
and when you're doing
Yeah,
math
especially.
problems. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
I think esports is like a great asset for people in college, especially. I feel like the oh my god, can I speak?
Communicative.
Communicative, yes, skills that it can build are pretty invaluable in that it's not something that's easily accessible in through other avenues that you might see in college, like group projects, which is something that people like to mention. But you never are gonna be in a situation in a group project where you are trying to like learn strategies or communicate with somebody um, in a way that's quick and efficient. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right, and it's this. There's a very inherent team aspect to it that I feel like even still kind of goes unappreciative. I mean, it truly
Mhm.
does. People still like to say that it's not comparable to real sports, and while some aspects that's true, I can tell you, coming from a sports background and knowing a lot of people that I team with and that I play with, coming from sports backgrounds, that there are
Mhm.
so many overlaps, and it's just good to see some like real appreciation for it. A
Mhm.
fantastic comment came out on the Twitch chat that in 2019, $15 million in esports scholarships were awarded in the U.S. That's a lot of money. That
Mhm.
is a lot of money, and that figure, if I'm not incorrect, is actually set to increase and have been increased. Now, the pandemic might have stifled some things, but at the same time, the pandemic actually might have um, fostered a brand new generation of college students and incoming college students to this gigantic scene that was previously really kind of in the shadows and in the background. I mean, these operations have been open for so long. I think another fantastic example is Rainbow Six Siege, which again we'll get to in a little bit. Valorant's a little bit of a newer game, so that collegiate scene isn't as wide open yet. But for Rainbow Six Siege, a fantastic example is CR6, Collegiate Rainbow
Yep.
Six, which was a scene that was built by people who were just invested in it. It had no official support. It was just a bunch of people who loved college, who loved their colleges rather, and who loved Rainbow Six Siege, trying to make the most of what they had. And as of last year, the publishers of Rainbow Six Siege, Ubisoft, partnered with their official hosts, Face It, and made a $30,000 tournament free of entry for all college teams. Something that we
Mhm.
participated in, and something that, I mean, that's just landmark. That was unheard of before this. It just goes to show like where we are currently. We're really at the crossroads of esports where this really can become something huge.
Mhm. And I think it's a great point that you mentioned tournaments and stuff. Uh, for people, I hate to say it, for people like me who like weren't very athletic growing up and things like that, having a competitive outlet and being able to play on a team in a in a competitive scene like Rainbow Six was something that I didn't really get growing up, and I think it was a very invaluable experience to me. Not only because it helped me develop the skills, like you mentioned, like uh, communication and building team strategy, and basically changing like kind of changing my mind on what I what I thought about like competitive sports and how much I valued team activities like sports, for example. Um, it really gave me an appreciation for like building relationships, not like well, obviously friendships because your teammates do definitely oh my gosh.
You
Sorry,
got that.
hold
You win
on.
this. You win this. You win this. Easy. I mean, come on,
Anyways,
guys. This is NevXO on Twitch, by the way. We're gonna plug the stream in at the
thank
end of the
you.
game. NevXO on Twitch, by the way. Can we get a PogChamp in chat? Go on, Eric.
Uh, yeah, as I was saying, like it gave me an experience that I otherwise wouldn't. Okay, I otherwise wouldn't have had growing up. Of being able to play with a team and sort of interact with people in that way, competing for prize money that we, was definitely, even though we were just a team who had just formed that year, uh, we still tried our best to play at the best of our ability to win a tournament of that scale, which was, to me, it felt insane to take part of something like that. Growing up in a time where, my parents and uh, all of my other like role models basically said, "Don't waste your time on video games."
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy to have played in a tournament for a $30,000 prize, but
Just being a part of something bigger than yourself. I mean, it really does have an
definitely.
impact on people who maybe previously have not had that kind of experience.
Hmm.
I guess kind of one of the last questions I want to ask before we let you go and we wrap up your segment and move on to our other fantastic members. Well, two more questions, but let me ask this one first. Just kind of a general question. What has the club, the CCNY Esports Club, done for you as a student of CCNY?
Uh, for me, it helped me make pretty much half of the friends that I know from CCNY at this point in time. Like I said, I'm a junior, right? So last year, my sophomore year, was all online, meaning I didn't really have time to socialize in the actual quote unquote actual college setting of being on campus, at the cafeteria, in common areas like the library, making friends that way. So when I realized that we were gonna be all online for that whole year, basically, that's when I joined the CCNY Discord, the CCNY Esports Discord, and saw the well, who is now the president, but was then trying to start the Rainbow Six Collegiate team. And at that point in time, I was really into Rainbow Six and had never played competitive, which was a lot different than I thought it was going to be. But I really was interested at the time in playing competitive Rainbow Six. And so I got invested into the club through joining the Rainbow Six Collegiate team. I made the friends from the team itself, and then being at club meetings every Thursday, I think it was.
Yes, every Thursday.
Yeah, in the Discord server, obviously, because we were all online. Basically, 2 hours in between classes where we would just sit down, relax, and play like Among Us or Overwatch or pretty much anything we wanted to play at that point. I made like pretty much, I want to say like 20 or so friends from the CCNY Discord alone, and these are people that are now like I would consider very close to me, and actually people that I talk to outside of school, outside of gaming, and anytime that I feel like I want to hang out with them, I could just hit up the Discord and say, hey, does anybody want to hop on for a game of Sea or Valorant or Overwatch or anything, pretty much. And it's really nice to have that outlet to socialize, especially in a time where, like I said, it's difficult to stay social when you can't be on campus and socialize in person anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a beautiful way to put it. Thank you very much, Eric. I really appreciate your time and the gameplay, even if the other team surrendered a little bit prematurely. Everybody, you can follow Eric on Twitch, twitch.tv/NevXO. We're going to have the link in the chat. But don't go anywhere, okay? We're going to go to a quick intermission, and then we're going to get on with our next game and our next set of gamers, everybody, all right? It's going to be a real short thing, 2-3 minutes. We'll see you at 1 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we're back with a familiar face and 2 new faces. Eric is going to be joining our friends David and Ibrahim on Overwatch, but I guess you guys can take it away. Introduce yourselves. Let's start with Eric. Go ahead, Eric. Tell the world who you are.
I'm Eric. I'm an incoming junior at CCNY, majoring in mechanical engineering.
Anyways, go ahead, David. We'll start with you. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, I'm David. I'm currently majoring in computer engineering. I'm incoming junior. I actually played in the R6 Collegiate team before Eric and Matthew was even in the club. So, nudge, nudge. You're welcome for establishing what you guys had.
Thank you very much.
Hi guys,
Go ahead.
I'm Ibrahim. I'm a upcoming junior at CCNY, a bio major, and I mostly just play Overwatch. I haven't really participated in any of the collegiate teams because I haven't really worked out with timing and stuff. But yeah,
that's all right. And it's all right. People's responsibilities come first. I think that's the most important thing that we do here at the club. Education comes first. It truly does. And I guess that will lead fantastically into kind of the first question that I think all of the older generations are always curious about when it comes to esports and when it comes to video games as a hobby. But let's be honest here, because we're adults and it's important to self-reflect. I guess you guys can just kind of answer and tell me, like, has there ever been a time, and does video games currently really have an effect on your academics in a good or bad way? Either or is acceptable.
Well,
Go ahead, take it away.
oh,
Oh, is David okay? can we get another stream of while David lags?
You
Oh,
got
yeah,
hooked
okay,
into
okay.
the theme as soon as you asked the question.
Go ahead, Eric. Start a stream.
Yeah, I got you. Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, it would not be a Twitch stream without technical issues. I mean, this is just how it goes, I suppose. All right. So, David, are you there?
He might have DC'd.
I
He
think-
was
Oh,
having
God.
issues earlier.
Okay, so if David's
Damn.
having some technical issues, then we can what we'll do is we'll wait for David, and I guess I can kind of start and set the groundwork for everybody here. Just to kind of refresh for the question, we're talking about academics and its effects, or I should say the effect of video games on academics, whether good or bad, and how we've learned as adults, as college students, and as gamers, how to kind of manage our time. And I'll be the first to say, when you're young and you get really into something, it sometimes tends to take over your life, and that was the case with me when I was young. Very impressionable, playing video games all the time, letting your academics slip, and just not understanding really the full gravity of what that meant. But I will say, as I've gotten older, as video games have matured with me, and as I've come to, assume more responsibility both with the club, extracurricular activities, and with the team, I mean, you just learn how to manage your time. I mean, even this was a gigantic feat in time management. I appreciate you all for being here once again, but I think the one common theme that a lot of people share, especially those in college, is that, when it comes to video games, especially in the club, for the guys that are in the club in the chat, college comes first. We represent the school, we are of the school, and that always comes first. The games, come second. But I think, Ibrahim,
Yeah.
if you want to take a stab at it, kind of give us your answer.
Yeah, like what you said, there definitely has to be a balance between games and college responsibility. Especially as a bio major where you have to spend hours upon hours studying a day. I don't think it really has disrupted me, and just you gotta just find that equilibrium between work, fun, and everything else. And games don't really take any more responsibility than any other activity that you would be doing outside. And yeah,
Yeah, and very well put. What about you, Eric? What's your input on this?
Well, I think, like you said, right, growing up, gaming did take up a lot of my time, and I did get distracted by it a lot. But maturing in college and in high school, definitely, I learned to put academics first, always, pretty much. And gaming is just an outlet for when I have downtime to relax and basically de-stress. And I think it actually has a much more positive impact than people might initially think. People might see it as a distraction, but I see it as more of a way to help you just relax after you've taken care of all the other responsibilities that you had to take care of.
I think de-stressing is actually a very underlooked aspect of what video games provide to people. As this match is coming to a close, we're just gonna have you guys queue into another one so we can get, some more information on Overwatch, and we'll talk about Overwatch in a little bit. But just kind of to touch on this point of de-stressing, yeah, I mean, it seems to be another aspect that people just don't they don't appreciate nearly as much as they should. How much this games just in general really allow you to relax and allow you to have some downtime, in a way that traditional sports just doesn't provide. I mean, Ibrahim, you got any input on this one?
yeah. About the de-stressing part, it's actually really true. You would come from a really stressful job or a really stressful day at school, or after exams, winding
Oh my
down and
gosh.
playing video games is one of the best ways you can relax, especially depending on the video game. some single player games, some online games, like going on with your friends in a party, just like chilling down at home, drinking whatever, and then playing games. It's just one of the best ways you can wind down.
Yeah.
And I don't think, like you said, like actual sports don't provide that as much because you have to like be physically active, which is not the best way to relax for some people. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely provides a different aspect of a similar kind of de-stressing. It's playing this at the end of a long day of work or a long day of school. It really does have a very different effect on how you
Yeah.
perceive the world and how you perceive even the struggles that you have. Sometimes it allows you to just minimize them.
Yeah, like back in the day, people would just go home, put on the TV and drink a cold one. But this is kind of like that thing of nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a question for the both of you all while you get into your next match on possibly the worst map that we probably could have had for this, but that's all right. um,
Dodge.
uh, is there anything at all that you guys have learned or that you actively learn watching and playing games that have helped you in your academic life? Any skills? Anything? Any
Um,
new ways
if I
of
like
learning?
that.
Go ahead, David.
What for me at least for group projects, playing games, as stated earlier, it has the team aspect kind of deal, where you manage people in terms of how setting goals for each other and such. Like it has helped me in group work to work with others that might be difficult to work with at times, to compromise for them and to manage their time and how to allocate resources to such.
I guess we could just kind of go around here. Eric, if you'd like to add your input onto this question as well.
Can you repeat the question real quick? Sorry.
Yeah, it's no problem. Basically, what kind of skills do you actively learn or have you learned that have helped you in your academic life? If any that you can think of right now from games.
Definitely what David mentioned about working with people and sort of helping manage other people that was definitely something that I think I picked up on really quickly playing in competitive Rainbow Six. Being able to sort of manage time to be able to, for example, do practice runs in Rainbow Six with the team or anything like that. Working with other people and also just being able to like effectively communicate when you need a break from something to somebody, especially if like they're helping like manage you and the team. It's definitely helpful being able to communicate with people to say when you really aren't feeling like playing or if you want to take up a different position for the team. I think it's something that definitely translates to life really well, especially in like a workplace environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was a great answer as well. What about you, Ibrahim? What do you think?
No sleep.
It's kind of like the same points they brought up. Teamwork was really like a measured thing. I think video games help with. And also another aspect is like expecting the unexpected. You can't always count on your teammates to do their job, so you have to improvise like on a short time notice.
Yeah.
So that's another skill like I think I've developed
I
playing
think,
competitive video games and whatnot.
I think you're playing the perfect game to demonstrate, not always having to depend on your teammates. I think we couldn't have picked a better game for that. Honestly, we couldn't have picked a better set of games actually today to demonstrate that point. I guess I'll add my 2 cents in here as well, though. One really underrated aspect again is just the ability to problem solve and the ability to think in 3 dimensions. As a result of playing games, there are studies that go out that show that the ability to problem solve and your ability to think about the world in a 3-dimensional space is improved while in these virtual environments. And I think for me especially, and I know for you guys, that just happens to be true. There are times where you feel like you just run into a brick wall in game and you have to figure out a way around it because you want to win. Plain and simple, cut and dry. And that kind of thinking will just end up naturally reflecting onto your life, whether it's in school, whether it's at work, whether it's in difficult social situations. The ability to just, see a situation, comprehend what's going on in a compressed way and find a way around problems and difficulties is something that not a lot of hobbies can really teach you. It's one of those things that it's very very difficult to find in such a concise and fun package, and in such an accessible one as video games are. But I think we should probably introduce the game now. I think there was some fantastic questions that were going around. Top 10 hosts. Can we get a top 10 host in chat going? But yeah, kind of talk to me. I guess David, since you cut it a little bit earlier, you can kind of introduce this game. This is your game, in my opinion.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
introduce the game. What are we playing here? What are we watching?
So we're playing Overwatch, as we have said before. It's a 6v6 shooter game mainly that was developed by Blizzard Entertainment, who created World of Warcraft, which is one popular MMORPG for any MMORPG fans out there. And it's a combination from another game, Team Fortress 2, that was out about in 2010-ish or so. The game came out in 2016 with the goal to unite MMORPG aspects with first-person shooter games, in having different characters that you could play with unique set of skills to work together in order to achieve goals. Currently, we're trying to capture an objective right now on to win this game, and right now we don't have the teamwork necessarily to take care of these enemies.
I mean, it's going fantastic,
players.
as we can
Yeah.
tell. I mean, just it's going just fantastic. I can already see it. The victory just coming in clean.
Oh yeah, as we say this, we actually might win.
Yeah.
That's why we got the team aspect in.
Yeah,
Finally.
Together and push.
Overwatch is another one of those games. It's very team-centric. It's dependent on how well you work together as a team, on how well you're able to communicate and problem solve as a group. Something that I saw mentioned in the chat. People just don't really think about it in that aspect. It's very similar to real-life sports in that way. But so I guess another question that I have for you guys, and we can kind of go round table, and we'll start with Ibrahim here. If there has been any impact, and I know Eric kind of touched on this a little bit, has there been any impact on video games in terms of what you've seen in your future, whether that be making videos for fun, whether that be anticipating video games as a way to be as social as you currently are, or even as a career option?
Yeah, definitely. Compared to a few years ago, there's like many resources that you can use to make a living out of playing video games. Streaming is one of them. A bit harder to do, but it's also possible. Becoming an esports player is one of them. Making YouTube videos is another thing. There's just so many possibilities that if you have like what it takes and you put like enough time, it's out to pay off, which is really good because a lot of people want to do this for a living, and it's good that they're able to.
I think it's a great answer. We can move on to David next. Your 2 cents on this question.
Can you please repeat real quick?
Yeah, no problem. If in any way, how has video games kind of shaped your trajectory, whether that be in your career or your social life or anything really? How has video games shaped that trajectory?
More specifically, social life. I'm able I'm able to talk with people that play games in general, because there may be some aspects in other games that are shared with other games, and you could kind of have a common hobby together and appreciate each other in each game that you play with. And so the games have helped me make a lot of friends. Like Eric stated earlier, the club Discord has helped me in this pandemic, like socializing, making friends with. Otherwise, because right now we can't even get to the college in order to get the traditional way to make friends on campus in libraries and such.
Yeah, the social impact is something that cannot be understated. But yeah, go ahead, Eric. I mean, if you want to add anything else, I know that you had mentioned and you had touched upon it, but if there's anything else you'd like to add, go for it.
Something we mentioned earlier. Actually, I think Ibrahim mentioned it. Being able to sit down with friends and play video games like after finals, especially. I think since you mentioned finals week, finishing the last finals of the week at the end of the semester, and then being able to sit down and play games with everybody who you've been stressing out with this whole time, basically, over the whole semester is definitely like it's been part like definitely one of my favorite parts of college is just being able to sit down and enjoy something with people who I stress out with about which grades I'm gonna get in which classes and how my GPA is gonna look at the end of the semester and things like that.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think it's something that people might not realize that like the social aspect can be have a huge like weight on uh your psyche basically, and it can really help you get through a tough semester or a tough week of tests.
Yeah, it certainly can. And kind of one more. Now that we're on the topic of de-stressing, I want to touch on a topic that I know is relevant to a few of you guys. I'm not gonna blow up your spot here, but this one's always a fun one, and I'll start off, so that way we can get the ha-has out of the way. But just for the question for the audience, so we all know, posed by one of our partners, Barry. Shout out to you, Barry. How do you use video games to manage and negotiate your feelings? I know that one's gonna be a fun one to answer.
Oh man!
So I'll start. So
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll start. Okay. Let's put it like this. Okay. Everybody here, I think it's pretty fair to say, are competitive people. I mean, I know it that everybody here is competitive, and that there are two different aspects of us playing games, and they interact with each other in very different ways. There is the casual aspect of us playing video games, where we play video games to de-stress, we play video games to just relax and have fun with friends, end of story, right? And then there's the competitive aspect of playing games, which, like any competitive aspect of doing anything, lends itself to high emotions. What I will say, and listen, I'm just as guilty as everybody here. It's very real that sometimes you get upset and you get annoyed and you get frustrated at video games. I mean, that it's just cut and dry. It happens with sports. It happens watching sports. I mean, it happens doing anything that's competitive. What I will say though is video games has delivered at the same time an outlet for that frustration that nothing else really has, in my experience. Very few things are as accessible as video games that can deliver that kind of outlet. And, for as many times as I may get frustrated and annoyed and mad at a team game, because my teammates aren't picking up the slack, because I'm not doing as well as I want. For as many times as that happened, there are 3 times the amount of times where I have just been able to control myself, de-stress after a long day, and just have fun. Everything, has its ups and its downs, and video games certainly is one of them. I mean, everybody knows that people rage. Everybody knows that people get upset. But the aspect that people just don't understand and don't hear about is plain and simple. It helps. It really does help. But let's go around, round table again. We'll start with Ibrahim, we'll go David, and then Eric again.
Yeah,
and
sure.
let's just kind of hear about your experiences and, what you would take away from this question of emotions and how you regulate them in your gaming experience.
Just with anything on the internet, you can meet some insanely frustrating people, and it can be frustrating at times. Not really de-stress, just make you more stressed. So the best way to deal with that is just to ignore them. And I remember the Seatown incident where something like that happened. And sometimes when you fire back, it's funny and fun, but like most of the time, ignore them is the better option.
Yeah.
Honestly, personally, the way I de-stress is just I spawn camp with Hog. If I'm having a bad day, I'll ruin someone else's day. So it's better than flaming.
Even in the moments of stress, sometimes it turns into de-stress in a funny
Yeah.
way. Even in that. Go ahead, David.
Yep.
Well, it's always fun to argue with people It's a way to de-stress. But video games in general, like there are other games other than the games we have showcased on Valorant and Overwatch. There are games where you could do literally anything that you could dream of. Like for example, if you have a dream of flying, there's Microsoft Flight Simulator that offers you that, and you could just like sort of relax. And that's how I negotiate my feelings, at least. Like playing games that I feel like playing at the time that I want to explore. And at the same time, in games that are you have to deal with frustrating people, you learn to deal with them, as Ibrahim stated, like ignoring them or understanding them to get the common goal.
Yeah, I think just before Eric, you say something, I think actually David touches on a very important point. Learning how to deal with difficult people is probably the most underrated skill that you can learn from video games. I think
Oh,
if there's one thing that everybody here can take away, it's that all of us on a daily basis playing any of these 3 games deal with somebody completely insufferable, but that's okay because we learn how to deal with it in real life. And that's a very real skill. It is something that we've like very seriously transfer into our daily life. And it's something that a lot of people can't really say that they can do. But go ahead, Eric. I'll let you kind of take the last shot at this question.
So, yeah, I mean, definitely, I second what Ibrahim and David have already said. But I think another thing that involves emotions while gaming is being able to, and this is more for when you're playing competitively, and especially on a team like with actual competitive esports like Rainbow Six. It's being able to know when you're the one who makes the mistake, and being able to just calm down, reset, like mentally reset from whatever it is that you did, and just play your best anyway. Being able to like just forget about how frustrating a single moment was while playing a video game, and then just moving along to something else, to the next round or whatever it is I think a skill that is maybe it's not exclusive to esports, but I think it's something that definitely enhanced with esports.
Yeah.
Being able to overcome frustration in like 2 seconds and just get back into the game is something that I think is a valuable skill that I've picked up on.
Oh yeah. And being able to accept responsibility as well.
Yes,
People
definitely.
love to accept responsibility when it favors them, but oftentimes it's difficult to accept responsibility when we're the ones that messed up. And esports is one of those, it's a safe outlet to just practice accepting responsibility. Plain and simple. And it's just like you said, Eric, sometimes you do just have to, as I love to say, mentally reset, where
Yeah.
you are upset, you're feeling all these emotions, but you know that for the sake of your team, for the sake of the people around you, you need to just stifle it and keep going. Plain and simple. And it's one of those aspects, excuse me, of emotion management that is just really, not talked about, especially in the competitive aspect of video games. So somebody in the chat actually would love to hear more about how gaming helps in dealing with difficult people. I'm going to step away to grab a drink of water. So
No
I'm gonna let you guys deal with this one real quick. I'm sorry. Give me a moment.
All right.
Deal with difficult people.
Can we requeue for the roles, please? Thanks.
Yeah, that would be Ibrahim.
Oh, I'm the party leader?
Yeah.
Well, dealing with difficult people, there are many ways in like the current in games now that you could do with this. The first and easy option really is to just simply mute or block or a function basically to cut off communication from that person. Essentially, in a way, selecting people you want to talk to, as that's one way to deal with difficult people in games. Another way is to kind of divert their attention to focus on the aspect of the game. To have tell people to vent later, because at the same everyone's playing competitively, so they get frustrated at that time, and you just have to find something in them that might calm them down. And that's pretty difficult when you're dealing with people randomly online. You could be dealing with people from across the world in Asia, Europe, and that itself can come with difficulty because of the different cultures and that people have in those contents.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that it's also about the way you approach them. Generally, like people who are already, tilted or like upset about something, they would just explode the second you give them a reason to. So like if you approach them the wrong way, they're like a ticking bomb. They're just gonna explode
Yeah.
and be even more difficult. So like you have to either sugarcoat what you're trying to tell them. Maybe if a certain character isn't working and you're trying to tell them maybe it's not working, you have to sugarcoat it and be really careful about how you say it. Otherwise, just you're getting nowhere. So it's kind of
Yeah.
also helps you like assess the situation and approach it in a way that is appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely what you said, like being able to communicate with difficult people in a way that is going to be helpful to both of you, is definitely something that I feel like you can only really do in a competitive scene like esports. Asking somebody to switch characters even though they only play one, or asking somebody to pick up a role that they might not be playing, because nobody else on the team can really play it that well, and they might not want to do that. It's definitely a useful skill to be able to politely ask somebody to do something, and
Yeah.
hopefully they, take the advice.
Yep.
Like as you play more games and all, you learn to like try and understand where other people are coming from when they approach the game. So you could try and understand what decision, why they're making those decisions, and then you could use that to deal with those people that you find frustrating to deal with as a way to approach it.
yeah. I think,
Something you're,
and you know what? Sometimes, as with everything, sometimes there are just some people that won't listen, and so the easiest thing to do is just ignore them, mute them.
yes.
And I'm not ashamed to say it. There are plenty of times where, you get to play a game sometimes so much that you just know when somebody's not going to listen, so you hit the mute button on them within like the first 10 seconds of the round. I mean, it happens. The thing that's important, especially when you're playing with people that you don't know, is your enjoyment of the game comes first. It's just bottom line. Your enjoyment of the game will come first. And, some people enjoy winning, and so that will be their source of the frustration. Some people just enjoy playing some other game that's not the game you're playing, and that will be your source of frustration. But, at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff mirrors real life. I mean, it is very much what people have to deal with on a daily basis. People who just are point blank annoying. And it's a very real skill to be able to just sit there and either rationalize it with them and help them, or just say, you know what, I have to just ignore them. It's really as simple as that. But that's just in the aspect of not knowing who you're talking to. In a competitive
Yeah.
aspect where that skill is actually even more important, because then that turns into, being able to diffuse difficult situations between people, being able to rationalize with people that you know. I mean, there's a lot of like interpersonal skill that comes in being able to calm somebody out of a rage and calm somebody out of a really aggressive state that they're in, whether they are blaming people or whether, you just need to tell them straight up, like, hey, you need to like pick it up. Being able to engage with somebody in a difficult situation that you know, and then also being engaged with when you're not in the right state of mind. These are real life skills that people, I mean, it certainly feels like not enough people know. And video games it's a safe place to do it. Plain and simple. A safe place.
Yep. A great example of that, by the way, is that we have to disable chat in these games while we're playing them for the stream.
Yeah.
Just because, even when you're not responding, people can get extremely toxic and pretty much unbearable.
Yeah.
At times. So.
With all the good comes bad, and people feel emboldened to say things on the internet that they wouldn't say in real life. But it's when it comes to that, at the very least, you get to you just have to ignore them. I mean, there is never only a good thing, and I feel like one of the things that people focus on so much is kind of the negatives of what comes around of video games. Now that stigma is slowly being erased, but a big part about this event is just showing people there's a lot of good to be had here. There isn't just bad. There isn't just conflict. There isn't just time wasted. There's a lot of behind the scenes action and behind the scenes, building that happens. And that's what we're trying to expose here. That's what we do here. This is what the club is for. It's a safe place for everybody to be, and it is a outlet for people. But so I asked Eric this question a little bit earlier during his Valorant segment, but I guess I'll ask you guys as well. You kind of answered it in a little bit more roundabout ways, answering different questions. But what has the club provided for you guys specifically, and that is unique to the club and that you're really appreciative of? I guess we can go Ibrahim first, and then we'll go David.
In a sense, the CCNY club is kind of like the go-to place for anything CCNY related, since we don't really have any official place we can go to ask any question we have, or like any inquiries regarding the school or what we're doing. So the CCNY Esports Club has become like the place. If I have any question, esports or not related, like anything, I'll just go there, ask, and find the people. And it's just like a sense of community that we don't really have in CCNY, which is something I appreciate.
Well, as Ibrahim stated, like the CCNY Esports Club allows is an outlet for CCNY info, not just for gaming, but also for the club. It also has provided me with friends that play the same games as I do, or play games in general, to socialize with and relate with.
Yeah, and kind of, I think it's a good segue into a little bit more of an introspective question. Posed by the audience as well. It's just how does video games and being a part of a community like this, both in CCNY exclusively and then also just a part of the game, how does that reflect onto you as a person in what you want yourself, who you want yourself to be? I guess we can go Eric, David, Ibrahim.
Oh my god, sorry. I totally tuned out. Repeat again? Sorry.
Basically,
Overwatch is quite focused.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey, listen, I understand. This is a free form conversation while you guys are playing your game. I understand. You guys got to be focused. How does gaming and being a part of a community like this reflect onto the kind of person that you want to be?
Okay. I think, for one, for me, definitely, it was something I struggled with, like, in my first year of college, which was, like, making friends. The esports club, for me, has been a great way for me to, like, socialize without, like, a lot of the anxieties of, like, talking to someone in person that I've...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that I've had to deal with before. It's something that, like, I think only the esports club could have provided for me at this point in time, definitely, because of, COVID, and classes weren't really an option for me, just because it's been a pretty antisocial setting.
Yeah, Zoom.
Watching, basically seeing nobody's face, and listening to somebody lecture me for like 2 hours at a time. It's not very like helpful for having conversations with other people and making friends. So in that aspect, like, it's helped me to be a lot more social than I otherwise would have been, I think.
Yeah.
Even in person, I think it's been a good change of pace for me into being a more social person.
And more engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David. You can give your answer.
No, I gave it earlier.
Oh, okay. All right, sounds good. So then, Ibrahim.
I already gave it. I gave it first.
Okay. Well,
He got it at you.
I appreciate you guys for giving me the answers. I think what we're gonna do now is we will hit another intermission for a little bit, okay? And we will catch up with our third and final game, Rainbow Six Siege, with our third and final guest, Adis. So give us about, I'll say 4 or 5 minutes to kind of set that up. We'll send you guys to intermission, and we will be back in just a few. And we're back. How's it going, everybody? Sorry for the little bit of an extended break. I am joined by, well, 4 people now, actually. This has turned into more of like a little hangout in the Discord here. We've got our familiar faces, Eric, Ibrahim, and David, but now we are joined by one new face. Adis, you want to introduce yourself to the people?
Yeah. So hi, my name is Adis. I'm a student at City College. I am a biochemistry major, and I used to play on the R6 collegiate team for City College.
And he did, and that collegiate team is fantastic. So what are we playing today, Adis? Tell me.
We're playing Rainbow Six Siege. Yeah. So
Give us
very,
a
very
little bit of a
excited.
breakdown. Yeah, give us
All right.
just
So
the abstract for people that don't know.
Siege is a 5v5. Really, in my opinion, one of the most tactical FPS games out there right now. Super complex. I think there's like 60 operators in the game right now. They all do different things. It's all really crazy. Lots of different interactions. Really fun game. Just a very, very fluid game where there's a lot of potential to be really, really creative do whatever it is that you want to do in the game. And that's why I started playing it. I thought it was really, really interesting how different it was from other games.
Yeah, and that it is. That it is. So I guess we're gonna kind of go off of like a similar freeform style here. For the guys that are in the audience and the gals that are in the audience, feel free to send us questions. As soon as I read them, I'll ask them to our lovely guests here. But I kind of just want to start simple. We talked a lot about what gaming meant to us and what the sense of community meant to us. But I know you, Adis, especially, coming a part of the team on such late notice, and then also playing other games like Valorant. I guess what I want to know is just kind of what does esports, what does these kind of competitive games really mean to you as a person?
So, I mean, I've been playing games basically all my life. Like, I think I started playing CS Source when I was like 5 or 6. And so competitive games have kind of like always been a thing to me. I've always played Call of Duty, and then I got introduced to League, CS, over like I've played them all. And I think that it just gives me kind of an outlet to, like, I'm a school head. Like I've always been. That's like kind of how I was raised. Like my parents were like, go to school, go to school, go to school. But I think that competitive games have really kind of given me something to practice where, like I can put in 10 hours a day. Like I play a lot of Valorant right now. I can put in 10 hours a day of Valorant where I strictly practice and try, and I'll enjoy that because I know that I'll come out of that day a better player than I was yesterday. And so I think esports kind of gives me like something to kind of look after besides just school. So I think that it gives me like an outlet to kind of just let out my passion and my practice.
And in a team environment, like what kind of skills kind of reflect out of that team environment? What kind of things have you learned being in a team environment? Like even just being a part of the collegiate team.
Um, Being a part of a team, like an organized team, especially, it's really a humbling experience because before a team, like I was improving pretty fast at Siege, but I'd never really played on a team. And then I joined the team and I realized like, wow, I still have so much to learn. And thankfully I was with 4 really awesome teammates. And so I kind of learned a lot playing with you guys. And so it was an awesome experience being able to realize that like, okay, yeah, like you're good at the game, but there's other players who are definitely better than you. You just haven't met them yet, and when you do meet them, you are going to learn a tremendous amount. So yeah,
Yeah, and those kind of skills and that kind of mentality also reflects onto real life, doesn't it?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
even in school, it's like there's 100% smarter people than you, or even like anybody. There's 100% smarter people than you. You just haven't met them, and when you do meet them, there's potential there to learn a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it'd be a good time, Eric, if you can, if we can hear your take on this kind of conversation as well, and what you think as well about the way that being a part of an organized team has kind of reflected on you. We haven't really talked much about that. We've talked more about the team aspect in general, But I think it's very different. It's a very different experience when you talk about a team that's organized, where you have a role, where you have a group of guys that you're playing with every single day. What's your experience coming out of that?
Well, like Adi said, right? Joining the team was like a real like eye opener for how complex the game is and how much I didn't know about the game, even though I've been playing it for about like a year or two, I think, by the time I joined the team. Um, there really was like a lot about the game that I just didn't know about and that I learned from playing on the team. But I came from a lot less experience and a much lower level of play than Adis did. So like being thrown into a competitive uh scene of the game when I really wasn't as like experienced or really good at the game was definitely, it was like shocking, but it made the game, I think, a lot more fun and interesting, and I definitely wouldn't have been playing as long as I did. I definitely wouldn't have been playing this game as long as I did if it weren't for joining the team. I think I would have probably dropped this game at around the same time I joined the team had I not had the opportunity to.
And now I'm curious, kind of posing this question to the both of you. What's different about the team environment versus, and I'm talking about the organized team environment versus, for example, like what you're doing now, where you're just kind of matched up with random people that you don't know, that you're just happening to play with. I guess we can go Eric, and then we'll go back to you, Dees.
I think probably the most surprising thing for me in playing on an organized team, rather than just playing, blind ranked or casual, is the fact that you can learn how to play the game without even actually playing. What I mean by that is just coming to like club meetings or team meetings and hearing what the captain, which was actually you, Matthew, had to say about strategies for each map and how we were going to attack every time that we played a certain site on a certain map without even being in the game, really. Hearing you explain what everyone was going to do, what everybody's role was, and how the round would end up playing out without even, being in the game, walking around, like actually playing, was something that I didn't think was possible until it happened. And on top of that, we would end up playing in rounds like by ourselves, not against another team, and just practice basically playing together before we ended up playing against anybody. And I think it was really interesting to see how I learned so much more about the game without even actually playing the game than in like probably like 3 months, I'd say, than I did in the 2 years that I played before, which is pretty crazy. And I didn't think that it would be so different.
Yeah. All right. Well, what about you, Adis? What do you think about this?
Just real quick, can you just repeat the question? So
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, the game does come first.
yeah.
So basically, I was asking kind of what the difference is in, both the very literal skills that you take away and just the experience between playing playing with a bunch of people that you just might not know randomly, like how you are right now, versus playing in a truly organized team environment where you meet the same group of people every single day and you play kind of like a sport.
I think individually, there's always things that you can learn and you can get better at, but I think that when you're in a team setting, it's just a completely different skill set. So like if you look at like any pro player, it doesn't even have to be like an esport player. It could be a sports player. They're always doing like physical conditioning. Like football players are always, lifting weights or running or, making sure, they're all in tip-top shape. Gamers are always, aim practice, movement practice, this, that, and like the next, like, the list goes on. But I think that when you're playing on a team, it's like, it's a completely different skill set. Like your mechanical skill rarely comes into play when you're talking about a team setting. I think that it's all about your chemistry with your team and how well you're able to mesh together. Like I think like when we were playing Collegiate R6, it was really really nice seeing how well we communicated and how like not scared we were to give each other criticism, because we knew that at the end of the day it was all just about,
it was really
it was
really
all about
nice
making sure
seeing
that we
how
all were
well we
playing better as
communicated
a
and how
team,
like
and
not
the
scared we were to give
communication
each
was
other
there for the
criticism.
most most of the time, and we were able to just improve our communication skills. I think that's one of the most important skills as a as a team.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point that you brought up. And I guess that's gonna kind of lead me into a question that I've had answered by the other guys on the desk, but I'm curious about like your opinion on this, Adis. But like, what kind of life skills have you taken away from the collegiate experience playing with people, like playing with us?
Uh, there's like a lot. There's a lot of different ways I can answer this question. I think number one is that I've learned how to. Oh, they definitely have a glass. Oh wait, didn't we ban glass? No, we did. So I think that the number one thing that I've learned is, even like when I'm doing a project, like if I'm at work and I'm working with my team or whatever, and we're always making sure that we have the best way to, you know, answer the problem that we have, in front of us. We're always able to kind of just like come together and see everyone's perspectives and understand like, okay, he thinks this is a good solution, he thinks this is a good solution, weigh the the pros and the cons. And I think that playing on esports has kind of taught us to also think on the fly, like when there's a really important situation at hand. You're able to answer problems much more quickly than you're normally able to, because you have experience in this. And I think that it really changes the way that I look at how you can solve problems and how you can work as a team.
Yeah. I think it's like a completely valid response as well, and just kind of echoing the thoughts of everybody in the previous ones, but also echoing the thoughts of some of the members of our chat. God of Beans saying basically that the competitive mindset is a goal-setting mindset, and I know that when we were running the team, that I would always break everything that we did down into a few simple goals and a few simple steps. And so I think it's really a fantastic analogy to kind of bring up that the experience of playing with people in a coordinated setting, when you know that the other team is coordinated, it's you set goals for yourself, and that really is able to reflect very well onto your real life, because in real life you do have to organize with people consistently and set goals, and sometimes whether or not you know it or not, you really are competing against other people in some way, shape, or form. But so let's move on to a different style of question. I'm actually curious about what your take on this is, Adis. I know that we had a bit of a laugh asking the other guys about it when we were playing Overwatch, and you already might know what question this one is. But emotions in gaming. Like what does that mean to you? Let's put it like that. Emotions in gaming.
um yeah, that's a very good question. That's a strong question. I think emotions in gaming, it varies from person to person. So like there's the casual player, and then there's like the semi-competitive player, and then there's like the hardcore competitive players. And then there's just people that are so far into the competitive scene that it's not necessarily that they don't have emotion, but it's kind of like they've fixated themselves on what they need to do, so nothing really bothers them. But I think the scale goes, casual players are probably the most relaxed, which, I envy those people. Um, and then there's the semi-competitive people who will practice and they'll try to get better. And I think that the emotions that they have is like, I'm good at the game, but I haven't spent enough time to kind of solidify myself as an absolute animal. So I'm just kind of like relaxed about where I'm at. And then there's the incredibly competitive people who, if they're not performing to their own standard, then they're incredibly, unhappy with their performance, and, their emotions will get to them. I think that it varies from person to person. Myself, my emotions are kind of directed toward myself, because I know I practice, however many hours a day, and I know that I have to be performing at this level, or else, I'm just going to be unhappy with where I'm at, because, I'm putting in this practice, I'm putting in these hours, I know I'm a great player, and if I'm not performing to my own standard, then I usually get pretty unhappy. But I think that emotions toward others, it's kind of just like a maturity thing. Once you mature as a person in general, not even just in games, but as a person, you understand that like there's no reason to take out your chunk of anger on someone because it doesn't help the situation. You're with these people for half an hour, 40 minutes, and then like hasta la vista. But I don't really think that there's anything that really tops the idea of just knowing that you got to practice and you got to get good and you got to know that more often than not you're the reason that you might get angry, so you got to learn how to control it.
I think that's a fantastic answer, and I'm kind of gonna pick your brain a little bit further. But like, how has that translated into your real life, the way that you think about games?
uh I think the most important thing is just like with family and at work. Like I don't know if any of you guys have any siblings, but you guys know when you fight with your siblings, like it's borderline fist fight. Like you want to throw hands. But I think no joke. I think that like actually playing games has kind of taught me to just like relax and realize that you're always going to have a different perspective from other people, and you can't expect specific reactions from people because it's another person. You're not in their head, you're your own person, and you can't really change that. And so you kind of just have to make do with what you have. And on top of that, I think that gaming has taught me to kind of master patience to like the utmost extent. Like I feel like I've become a much more patient person since I've matured in video games, and I think that it's made me better at communicating with the people that also frustrate me.
Another fantastic answer, and we're gonna get to more answers. I just want to see if Eric clutches out this 1v2 here. Hold on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's let Eric
I have no
concentrate
camps for you, by the way. Twitch was a blue bar window. Aw, unlucky.
Oh, nice try, Eric. Nice try. Nice try.
There was a hole in that door, and I knew it was there. Ugh.
So,
Fine. Uh,
go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, sorry, I was gonna ask what was the question?
Oh, well, I was actually gonna kind of flip this question a little bit, because you kind of answered the question when we were playing Overwatch and Valorant. But so a question that I kind of have now for everybody here is, and this is one that I think is gonna be really important because me personally, I think this is certainly the case. But has playing with, whether it's with friends or whether it's on a coordinated team, has it like advanced your maturity and your understanding of what it means to be mature? If everybody's here, we can kind of go around the table. So we can start with Ibrahim and then go to David and then Eric and then back to Adise. Okay? Does that sound good?
Yep.
All right. So Ibrahim, you there?
Oh yeah. So the question was if playing competitively have improved our maturity. Was that it?
Yeah, like, and has playing team-based games at all? Do you feel like it's kind of advanced your understanding of what maturity is, and has it, made you more mature?
Yeah, I think in general it really helps. The aspect of like looking back and reflecting and taking responsibility for your mistakes and trying to work on them and improve them. That I think has drastically improved as I played more team-based games. If you make a mistake, you apologize for it and then you try not to make it in the future. It just made it easier to take responsibility for your own actions and mistakes in general.
What about you, David?
To add on to that, I completely agree with everything that Ibrahim stated. Also, when you join an organized team environment, you learn to how to collectively deal with issues, problems that everyone has to face in games. Like I said earlier, learning how to work with others and playing collectively and making plans, as Adise, Matthew, and Eric played during R6, just it helped with like in the future for me, definitely for everyone, learning how to deal in the workspace, working on projects for a company or any of that sorts, and that is definitely going to help us all. And gaming will continue to deliver that kind of teachings or skills that we can always apply later on.
What about you, Eric?
Um, yeah, I agree that gaming has definitely helped me improve my sense of maturity. Uh, what I wanted to mention was it helped me playing in a team organized team environment where I was working with the same people all the time, playing the same game, and everybody wanted to get better. It helped me understand that sometimes I wasn't the best I wasn't the best source of information when it came to understanding uh, what I did well and what I didn't do well. Like, um, basically, what I mean by that is knowing that other people sometimes have a better perspective on yourself than you might is something that I picked up on from playing in a team based environment, accepting criticism from people, and understanding that they knew better than me, like what mistakes I was making because they saw what I was doing in the moment while I had to like make split second reactions to things, and they knew what I need to work on most, and it's something that I think I picked up a lot more from uh, playing in a team based game and a team setting.
Right. No, another fantastic answer. We'll round it out with you, Adis. Go on.
So yeah, I think I I learned a lot from games that like I mean this is kind of like a thing in real life too. It's actually like I think one of the most important things in real life is learning to be like independent. So like you can play in a 5v5, comp or a team or whatever, and I think the most important thing is understanding that you are a factor, like 100%, and so you kind of have to understand like, okay, I'm a part of this team. I have to be performing, I have to be communicating, I have to, be there for my team. But you have to understand that like yourself. Like as much as that sounds like a team thing, it's also an independent thing. Like you have to be there for your team, and you have to understand that in yourself because if you don't and you kind of just like, oh yeah, I have to be there for my team because, my team needs it. It's like, yeah, but you should also want it because you should yourself, want your team to perform and, to be able to get to places.
Yeah, I think just in general, the mood and the answers all kind of reflect to this commonality of, you know, what maturity is and what goes into being mature really is only elevated by playing in team-based environments and understanding up like your obligations and responsibilities as a player and as a member of just a greater team. I mean, these are all fantastic answers from all of you. Um, yeah, no, I think we can go with now something that was mentioned in chat about a drive to improve. And I'm actually curious now because I know that everybody has different levels of drive for what they want. Um, and I think I can for sure say that my drive, just in general, playing games, has always been high. But playing games competitively has really done something to my drive outside of the game that it's kind of intangible. You can't really put a number on how much it has, but it's just a feeling that I want to improve more, and it's like this competitive spirit to life almost. And I was wondering how you guys kind of feel about that. We can go round table again in the exact same order, but how has your drive to just improve, your drive to do better, how has that been affected by playing competitive games and just playing video games in general? We can start with Ibrahim again.
Um, as far as drive to improve, it's kind of a thing I've always had. So, like for example, in school, if I get a question wrong, I would make sure to study that topic the question was on to never get it wrong again. And in video games, kind of similar manner. For example, like if I miss a shot and die, I would try to improve my aim or like game sense so that won't happen again. And if anything, I think it elevated that drive to always want to improve and not repeat like and be better than I was like the day before or before training or practicing. So I think it just elevated it
Hmm.
or like helped me improve it.
Yeah, like brings it to a new level that you didn't know was there. What about you, David?
Yep.
Um, I always had a drive to improve as well, but gaming has definitely elevated as me as well. Because playing games, you want to have fun, but if you're constantly being defeated by opponents and you're making the same mistake over and over, you kind of have to adapt and be able to fix those mistakes in order to have fun and improving yourself. You definitely see you could definitely reflect back on to see where you came from, and you feel a sense of accomplishment from improving from that state and being able to have more fun in general.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree with the points that you made there as well. What do you think, Eric?
Um, Something that I think really helped from playing competitive games is being able to realize when, uh, when I was making improvements and like visualizing it and seeing it. Um, like how do I explain this? It's kind of difficult to, unless you like take a test or something, understand where you stand in terms of like knowledge of something in a class, for example. But in competitive gaming, like um seeing improvements in gaming, I feel like it's something that's a little bit more difficult to grasp. But when you make improvements to like your level of play or your mechanical skill in a game, uh I feel like it's in a lot of ways, it feels a lot more rewarding than getting a grade back or something like that. And that really helped me want to keep getting better at the game when I could see like pretty much instant results of like practicing certain things in game.
Yeah. What about you, Deez? I know you kind of touched upon this, but I just kind of give it in a more concise form. What has it done to, your
I
drive to
got
improve?
absolutely just destroyed. Um, I think so when I was playing Siege, I kind of realized that, like team-based games are kind of like not I really realized that I really did want to enjoy playing team-based games, and I think that joining the team, like when I found out the school had the collegiate team, I was like, all right, it's time to run drills. It's time to aim practice. It's time to do, a bunch of different practice. I think it just really taught me that like I want to get better. And I kind of like need to get better because if I'm standing still and everyone else is getting better, then technically I'm getting worse, and I don't really want to get worse at games.
Yeah. I mean, it always could be just as simple as that or as more complex. And I actually think it's a fantastic segue into something that I feel like is not really ever talked about. I know when we were all playing together on the collegiate team, this was something that I always talked about, but it's only something I talked about because I feel like it's never talked about, so we'll talk about it now. Um, let's talk about introspection, and what video games kind of provides people in terms of their ability to look at themselves objectively and say, this is my mistake, or I'm good at this, or I'm not good at this, or this is something that I can work on. I know that you guys have kind of touched around it again in, answering in roundabout ways and the answers to other questions, but just kind of in a concise way. How has your ability to look at yourself objectively, how has that been changed by playing team-based games and playing competitive? Let's start with a decent, kind of work our way backwards, since a decent Eric, you two,
Mhm.
were the unfortunate listeners to my rambles about this when we were playing Collegiate for like a few months. So we'll start there. Go ahead, Adiz.
Um, so especially when I was playing on the R6 team, but even more so when I started playing Valorant, I realized that it's basically useless to blame things on your team because I like whenever I play ranked or when I play ranked in Valorant, I kind of have like this philosophy of like, all right, I am 1+4 versus 5. Like I don't really have teammates, but they're kind of there, and if they pull something cool off, it's nice, but I can't expect them to kill all 5 players on the other team every single round. I think that it kind of taught me to have this shift in a mindset where it's like instead of saying like, oh, like come on, like you whiffed that shot, it's more like but I should have won my 1v1 instead, and then that would have probably brought us the round. And so it's kind of just like it morphs your way of thinking in a way that's beneficial to you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You want to piggyback off that one, Eric?
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, I think playing for the R6 team helped me. Like I said earlier, right? Other people are better at pointing out your mistakes than you. At least that's how I feel. And so what I was gonna say is like being able to. So I mean, I'm keeping it to Siege since that's what I have experience in. But like after a round of Siege where we lost, um, and I was in an environment where I didn't really know as much as the people around me. So being able to get feedback from people immediately on what I did wrong and what I should improve on, pretty much instantly after the round was over, was really helpful for me in terms of like uh, improving quickly. And I think that having that instant feedback every time was helpful in that it gave me like a heads up on, okay, instead of waiting until VOD review time to fix this issue, I could fix it right now, and you would immediately see like the rewards of fixing that mistake and improving on what you were doing wrong. And I think that like looking at yourself in that way and like, okay, the mistakes that I make affect the people around me, and it's very simple to just look at what you do, see what your mistakes are, and then fix them as soon as possible to help everyone involved. And it was something that like I feel like I only ever experienced for the first time in the R6 Collegiate. So
Yeah, I think that are two incredible perspectives. It's really, really good that we're able to expose this kind of thing to people who might not know otherwise. But so go ahead. So a little bit of a different experience, but I feel like we'll get a similar answer. David, what are your thoughts about gaming and how it's affected your ability to just kind of self-criticize and look into yourself objectively?
Well, it ties back also to the question of how gaming affected your maturity. Um, in organized team environments, as Elise and Eric stated, it helps you reflect, and you learn the team environment helps you ego check yourself. So you don't. It's not always about you at that point. You learn that it's collectively, and then you analyze yourself on what small change that you could have made to help collectively win a goal. From my experience, at least, in terms of gaming, I play mostly Overwatch competitively, and as we saw in the earlier segment, Overwatch can be quite fast paced in precise moments, and at the time you need communication with each other, and then after that you could always like look back on it and see what you could have changed in order to change that flow of fight and battle. And these games are quite it's quite obvious in the sense that you get to look back on it and you can see the instant feedback of like what you made and what decision you made, and then you look back and tie it back to before. You want to learn to win, so you want to improve, and the way to improve is to analyze what you did wrong, and how you could change it.
Yeah. Very relatable, just general life skills. I mean, you have anything to add, Ibrahim? To what we were saying here?
Just basically, David covered it all. Especially in Overwatch, it's like a team-based game, and sometimes you deal with players that play only one character, and if that character is obsolete against the other team, you can just flame them and whatever, and then lose the game. Try to help them, like give them resources. Just in a way, you have to like not always blame your team, even if they're not necessarily playing the most optimal way. You can try to work around that, try to improve. There's always something you can do to,
Got ruled.
make your odds of winning a bit higher.
Yeah, and there's always room to look back at yourself. Something that it's difficult for people to do just in general, but I mean, as hopefully everybody here today is able to see, it's almost just like a part and parcel of playing games with a team, playing with a team, playing competitively. I mean, no matter how you go about it, it's inevitable. It really is inevitable, and it's just something that you will eventually run into. Um, but if we have any other questions for the audience, from the audience, please feel free to send them through. I saw that Gottabean's putting out another fantastic point about, drive in video games being almost hand in hand. You really want to just take the next step and accomplish, your goals. I guess I'll take a stab and answer the question I set forth for everybody about introspection, because it's really interesting, right? You don't think about it nearly as often as I think you should or you ought to be. But playing on a team especially, and when you're playing to be, better than the guys that you play or the girls that you play, and you're really fighting to be the best version of yourself that you possibly can be, it's impossible to do that without introspection. When people think about it, you think about either you think about sports, or some people think about therapy, or you don't think about games. But it goes really hand in hand. Anything that you want to improve in at life, anything that you want to improve it in game, you have to be able to have it. And at least in my experience, the ability to look at myself objectively and say whether or not I've done something right, whether or not I've done something wrong, it's an invaluable skill that you're able to just gauge from doing something as simple as playing video games. I think we've more than proved today, and through all three of these games, and the amazing guests that we've had here, that there's a lot more than meets the eye to video games. But with that being said, I think we can just about wrap it up here. This game has finished. Our team has indeed won. And some good clips all around, some fantastic insight from everybody. I just want to thank everybody for showing up today, giving us the time, and lending us your ears. If everybody on the couch here would like to say something before we go, you guys can replug your Twitch. You can plug whatever you want. Just say goodbye. I'm gonna replug the Twitches right now. But if you guys like to say something, go for it.
Well, since the fall semester is almost starting soon at the CCNY, feel free to join the Discord channel that has been linked in the chat to join the community and help improve and perhaps get esports have a more established at CCNY and gather more people. It doesn't have to be gamers. You could be other. Esports has a lot of positions that are offered, like video producing skills or management or
Everything.
advertising skills.
Everything. It really truly is. It's an all-encompassing, community. But you can catch the guys. You can catch Eric at twitch.tv/nevxo_. You can catch Adis on his very informational Valorant streams. He's probably like the best player in this entire stream. I'm not gonna lie. Twitch.tv/Sita020. You can catch David at Phoenix_Wolfer. And you can catch me on Twitch if you'd like. I completely forgot about that. Twitch.tv/definitely not ozone, or on Twitter at @OzoneIsTrash. Thank you again, everybody. We really appreciate it. Hopefully, we're looking forward to putting on more events like this in the future, maybe one in person. But until then, we will see you guys next time.